I mean, like, Dubai is an interesting place because it's just so built up, and it has like the world's largest building, the Burj Khalifa.
Yep.
And I talked to the structural engineer who designed that system. So essentially it's kind of built on a buttress idea, and it's these concrete, like, so it's like a pyramid shaped building, but there's 3 different legs that all hold each other up to the point. So it's a concrete structure that's like, and he created this structure. So he created this like new type of building form because it was supposed to be the biggest building in the world. The Dubai government came to them and they were like, we want the biggest building in the world. And like literally they were like, okay, fine. We're going to have to design something. Like they basically were like, what's the budget? And they were like, I mean, come on, you know? So they'll design like whatever they need in order to do that. So he designed the buttress system, the 3-legged buttress. But before that, I forget what the other structural style was right before. But that one had a cap on how tall you could build. That's so insane. You had to invent a new structural system to get even taller. And in order to do, so there is like a budget issue here because you need to pump a ton of concrete, and there's a structural issue because it's made of concrete, the structure, but how do you get enough pressure to pump concrete that tall? So the amount of like innovative like things they had to come up with in order to build the Burj Khalifa is kind of amazing, and it's just based on a semi-dictator being like, I want the biggest building in the world, design it.
That the capital intensity is so high there,
so
like
high.
The resources and what you need, like honestly it could probably only come from someone with a lot of like oil or like Dubai there, right? Like just wanting the tallest building, is that sort of like a statement that they wanted
totally. I mean, so Mike, like the building is amazing because it's the tallest building in the world. It's even more amazing because it's retrofitted with, so a few years after they built it, they were like, what can we do to make this even more spectacular, right? The Burj Khalifa, so we were talking about the Olympics, we were talking about the Expo, right? What are the only, I think there's like very few events in this world where you can see things on a world stage. Okay, and we're talking about the Olympics, we're talking about the Expo and stuff. Another one is New Year's Eve, because you watch the ball drop. And every country, and it's interesting because every country goes through the time change different. So you're like, oh, Japan just had it, and what did Tokyo do? And you look at it real quick, and then you're like, oh, what happened in Paris? Like what did Paris have fireworks this year? Did they have a laser show? Like what did Paris do? When Dubai comes on, it's always, they have like, the Burj Khalifa is at the center of a mall. So what's interesting about this new style of architecture happening in the Middle East and Asia is that there's massive skyscrapers, and at the base of them is a mall. And it's like the malls are huge. Like we think we know what malls are. Their malls are 15 times the size of our malls, like way bigger. They have ski resorts in them, like inside of the mall, because you're in the desert, so you have to be inside. The mall is the best place to be inside, right? In a public way. So they all go to the mall. But there's also a mall per se, like it's the same term, different definition, or same word, different definition.
Did they choose that because it's like a huge gathering place where everybody will go?
Exactly. So right in front of right above the mall is like an area, a public mall, where like there's fountains, and it's kind of like the Bellagio style Las Vegas, where like they shoot off the fountains every night. But okay, so it's a spectacular building, but they've retrofitted it with a screen. So the whole building is this massive screen that can just be, it's like a TV. Like I'm just looking at your TV right there. Like you can turn on the TV and it's almost like a window into like whatever you want to see, like another world. You can play trippy graphics on YouTube. You can watch The Sopranos. You can like, and be like this Italian mob for a day. You know what I'm saying? Mobster for a day. And like, so the TV is this like window. It's this virtualization of an image. But imagine that, but on a building that's double the size of the Empire State Building. And so on New Year's, they have that building have a laser light show with these 500-foot like fountains blowing up in the air, and it's magnificent. I was there in 2020,
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you
yeah. So I went in 2020, and it's overwhelming. There's like 1 million people in front of the mall, and they're all just looking at the building. And when you see that, you have to think about scale in this. Like,
you went there specifically for New Year's?
For New Year's, yes.
Wow.
I wanted to see it.
Oof. Okay.
So it was like one of the things that, because again, I want to see Dubai, and why not see Dubai on the night at which it shines? It's like, that is New Year's, and you can see it on the TV, but somehow like it doesn't, looking at like this image, you don't understand the scale. The building is so big. You like walk up to it and like, it's so big that it like angles up like this, and it's just so tall. And so it's domineering. It's like a mountain. But what's interesting about a building is a mountain sort of rises up. A building is like a wall.
Yeah. Like the base foundation of what it is like, mountain has much wider base foundation, but the Burj Khalifa, I haven't seen the base exactly, but I would imagine it's like not that wide.
No, right? Yeah, exactly.
So how does it like support itself?
All of that, and it's the three-legged buttress that was designed. And so like, to go back to like the main idea of the building, right? They succeeded. What's interesting about the essential form of the screen is that it's usually flat, right? So it's usually like you turn off the screen and then it just becomes kind of like a mirror in some ways, or becomes kind of just like a blank area. So it is just a facade. All of this is like, behind the Burj Khalifa is kind of like open desert. When you get up to the top of it, you just look out and you're like, wow, there's actually not much around Dubai. It's just kind of like popped out of nowhere. So all of this is targeted, right? This architecture is a targeted architecture to make us think a certain way. And it succeeds, because we go, shit, I went to the Burj Khalifa on here, and I show people the pictures and they're like, whoa, like humans are capable of that. Dubai did that, so it's pretty spectacular.
Dubai is so unique in itself that it's just like this island, right? this sand island that like some rich oil tycoon took over, essentially, or a group of one or the other, and essentially just building their dream metropolis on it. And like, how we talked about capital earlier was like really intense. I would imagine the labor requirements are super high as well. Like how did they source so much labor to like build these exquisite architecture?